The morning of October 4, 2025, began like any other on Edisto Island, South Carolina. The sun rose gently over the marshes, casting golden light across the quiet waterfront. Locals went about their routines, walking dogs, sipping coffee on porches, and greeting neighbors as the day slowly came to life. The air was crisp, and the only sounds were the distant calls of seabirds and the soft lapping of waves against the shore. It was a picture-perfect start to what should have been an ordinary Saturday. But that calm was shattered just before noon, when a sudden violent event rocked the island. The waterfront home of Judge Diane Goodstein and her husband Arnold erupted in a massive inferno, sending flames and smoke high into the sky. The tranquility of the morning was instantly replaced by chaos and fear, as sirens wailed and neighbors rushed outside to see what was happening. Residents described hearing a powerful explosion that shook windows and rattled nerves. Within moments, the million-dollar mansion was completely engulfed, flames devouring the structure with terrifying speed. People gathered in the streets, watching in disbelief as the fire raged out of control, unable to comprehend how quickly disaster had struck. Thick black smoke billowed into the sky, visible for miles around. The community watched in shock and horror, realizing this was no ordinary house fire. The scale and intensity of the blaze left many fearing for the safety of those inside, and whispers of suspicion began to spread among the crowd. Judge Goodstein, a respected figure in South Carolina's legal community, was outside and unharmed. But her husband, Arnold, and their son were still trapped inside the burning home. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but the fire's ferocity made rescue efforts nearly impossible. The flames moved with terrifying speed, leaving little time for escape. What had once been a family sanctuary was transformed in minutes into a deadly trap, its familiar rooms now filled with smoke and fire. Firefighters battled desperately, but the odds were against them from the start. As emergency crews rushed to the scene, the island community was left reeling. People hugged loved ones, exchanged worried glances, and wondered aloud if this was simply a tragic accident, or if something far more sinister was at play. The sense of safety that had defined Edisto Island was suddenly, and perhaps permanently, shaken. The destruction of the Goodstein home would leave deep and lasting scars, not just for the family, but for the entire community. In the days and weeks to come, troubling questions would emerge, questions that would haunt Edisto Island and the state of South Carolina for a long time to come. To grasp the impact of this tragedy, you need to know the Goodsteins. Judge Diane Goodstein has served as a resident judge since 1998, earning respect for her intellect and fairness. Her husband, Arnold, is a decorated Vietnam veteran and former state legislator, twice awarded the Bronze Star. Together, they've built a legacy of public service and integrity, raising 2 children and becoming pillars of their community. Their Edisto Island home was a cherished retreat from public life, a symbol of decades of hard work. The fire's devastation struck at the heart of a family deeply woven into South Carolina's fabric. For many, this was not just the loss of a house, but a blow to a family that has given so much to their state. The tragedy resonated far beyond the island's shores. The fire erupted suddenly around 11:30 a.m., shattering the quiet of a typical suburban morning. What began as a normal day for the Goodstein family was instantly transformed into a nightmare. Neighbors later described hearing a deafening explosion, a blast so powerful it rattled windows and sent a shockwave through the neighborhood. Within seconds, thick black smoke billowed skyward, visible for blocks. Flames tore through the Goodstein home with terrifying speed, devouring everything in their path. The fire moved so quickly that it left almost no time for those inside to process what was happening, let alone escape. Judge Goodstein was out walking her dogs just a few houses away when she heard the blast. She turned to see her home engulfed in flames, the sight almost too shocking to comprehend. Inside, her husband Arnold and their son were suddenly trapped by the inferno. As the fire spread, exits became blocked by flames and falling debris, forcing them to make split-second life-or-death decisions. With smoke thickening and the heat growing unbearable, Arnold, 81 years old, realized there was only one way out. Summoning all his courage, he made a desperate leap from a second-story window, risking everything for a chance at survival. His son followed close behind, both men risking severe injury as they escaped the burning home. Their only thought was to survive, no matter the cost. Outside, neighbors rushed to help, frantically calling 911 as they watched the house consumed by flames. Many stood helpless, unable to do anything but hope for the family's safety. In just minutes, the fire's ferocity reduced the Goodstein home to a smoldering ruin, leaving behind only charred memories and blackened debris. Against all odds, the Goodsteins survived. Their escape was nothing short of miraculous, a testament to quick thinking and sheer willpower. As the family gathered outside, shaken but alive, the first responders arrived, ready to battle the blaze and offer help in the aftermath of disaster. Emergency crews from Edisto Beach and St. Paul Fire District raced to the scene, facing the unique challenges of a barrier island. Narrow roads and limited water supply made firefighting efforts difficult and slow. By the time they arrived, the house was fully engulfed, flames threatening nearby properties. Firefighters quickly realized saving the structure was impossible. Their focus shifted to rescue and containment. The waterfront location complicated access, forcing responders to improvise. The mission became clear: protect the surrounding area and save anyone still in danger. The environment and geography tested the skills and creativity of every responder on site. Their quick thinking would soon make all the difference. With the front of the house completely blocked by a wall of fire and thick, choking smoke, any hope of a traditional rescue seemed impossible. The flames raged with such intensity that even the most experienced firefighters hesitated to approach the entryway, knowing that the risk was simply too great. Thinking quickly, rescuers scanned the area for another way in, and turned to the water for a solution. The house backed up to a narrow waterway, and the only possible route to the trapped family was by crossing it. In the backyard, Arnold Goodstein and his son were stranded, injured, and unable to escape. The fire had cut off every exit by land, leaving them isolated and desperate for help as the flames crept closer. Without hesitation, first responders commandeered kayaks from a neighbor's yard, grabbing paddles and life vests in a race against time. They launched the kayaks into the water, paddling furiously across the narrow channel, their eyes fixed on the smoke-filled backyard where the family waited in terror. This improvised water rescue allowed them to bypass the deadly flames and reach the Goodsteins, providing urgent medical aid just in time. The quick thinking and teamwork of the first responders made all the difference. Arnold, in a desperate attempt to escape, had jumped from the second-story window, landing hard on the ground below. He suffered multiple broken bones and was in critical condition, his injuries severe and life-threatening. His son, too, was seriously hurt, with injuries that required immediate attention from paramedics on the scene. A third family member, also caught in the chaos, needed to be rushed to the hospital for further treatment. Recognizing the severity of Arnold's condition, emergency crews called in a medical helicopter, and he was airlifted to a trauma center in Charleston for advanced care. The urgency and gravity of the situation were clear on the faces of every paramedic and firefighter at the scene. The kayak rescue was a remarkable testament to the ingenuity, courage, and determination of the first responders, who refused to give up even when the odds seemed insurmountable. For the Goodstein family, this harrowing ordeal marked only the beginning of a long and difficult road to recovery, both physically and emotionally. The scars left by that night, the trauma, the loss, and the memories, would linger long after the flames were finally extinguished. The timing of the fire fueled immediate speculation. Just weeks earlier, Judge Goodstein had issued a high-profile order blocking the release of voter data to the Trump administration, citing privacy concerns. Her ruling drew national attention, praise from privacy advocates, and sharp criticism from others. The order was overturned by the state Supreme Court, but not before Judge Goodstein became the target of serious threats. In the weeks after her decision, she reportedly received multiple death threats. Against this backdrop, the fire at her home seemed more than coincidental to many. Was this a tragic accident, or a targeted act of retaliation? The possibility of political violence cast a dark shadow over the investigation. The story quickly became about more than just a house fire. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or SLED, took charge of the investigation. Their arson unit combed through the debris, searching for any sign of foul play. 2 days after the fire, SLED Chief Keel announced there was no evidence of arson. The cause remained undetermined, but investigators found nothing to suggest a criminal act. Officials urged patience, emphasizing that a thorough investigation takes time, especially with such extensive destruction. Security was increased for the Goodstein family, acknowledging the prior threats. Judge Goodstein declined to comment, deferring to investigators. The official message, "Let the evidence, not speculation, guide the conclusions." The investigation continued, but the public's anxiety remained. Despite SLED's statements, rumors and conspiracy theories spread rapidly online. Many found it hard to believe the fire was a coincidence, given the recent threats against Judge Goodstein. Social media buzzed with speculation, some convinced it was political violence, others offering alternative theories. The story became a lightning rod for mistrust and division. State leaders, including Governor Henry McMaster, urged the public to avoid spreading unverified information and to trust the investigation. The plea was for calm and patience, not panic and rumor. Officials reminded everyone that the Goodstein family's recovery should be the focus. The tragedy was personal, not just political. In a time of deep polarization, the call was for reason to prevail. As of October 7, 2025, the investigation into the fire's cause remains open. SLED has found no evidence of arson, but the final report is still pending. The Goodstein family faces a long recovery, physically, emotionally, and financially. Arnold Goodstein's injuries are severe, and the family's home is gone. Their ordeal is a stark reminder of the risks faced by public servants in a polarized era. The fire has sparked conversations about the safety of judges and the tone of public discourse. Whether coincidence or not, the tragedy highlights the dangers of political hostility. The story is one of loss, survival, and unanswered questions. As the Goodsteins heal and investigators search for answers, the community hopes for peace and clarity. The scars of that terrible morning will not soon fade.